Good evening. A conference meeting of the City Council of the City of Orange Township held in the council chambers of City Hall, 29 North Day Street, Orange, New Jersey, on Tuesday, February 3rd, 2015 at 7 p.m. Roll call. Councilman Elroy Corbett.
Here.
Councilwoman Eason.
Here.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
Present.
Councilman Harold Johnson.
Here.
Councilwoman Jamie Summers Johnson.
Present.
Council President is absent at this time. Council Vice President Carrie Coley present. Also present, City Attorney Dan Smith, Senior Finance Director Adrian Mapp, from the Clerk's Office Margaret Omer, and Tia Thomas. Let's please stand for a moment of silence. Okay, let's go. Special notice, please be apprised, anyone wishing to discuss agenda or general items shall sign one book. There will be 2 columns in the book, one for agenda items, one for general issues. Each person signing the book will check agenda. Each person signing the book will check agenda items or general issues. If they check only agenda items or general issues, they will be allowed to speak for 5 minutes. If they check general issues and agenda items, they will be allowed to speak for 10 minutes. The municipal clerk announces that the requirements of NJSA Sunshine Law has been met. A notice has been sent, was sent to the Star Ledger and published in the record transcript on July 17, 2014, and posted on the bulletin board in City Hall and filed in the office of the municipal clerk. Matters for discussion, there are none. Okay, resolutions, ordinances to be presented tonight. Meetings are listed on the attached regular meeting agenda. If any council member wishes to discuss any resolutions or ordinances, it may be discussed at this time. Ms. Eason, you will have any issues?
No, I was wondering, we don't have anybody here from Public Works? Mr. Mays or anybody's here?
I'm the only person from the administration. Hold on, let me put my other
Is
glasses
he coming
on.
in?
I don't know. Mr. Matt, want to speak for the administration?
38-2015.
I'm Adrian Mapp, Finance Director. I don't know what the question is. If you repeat it and I have an answer, I will gladly provide it.
How would you know what it is if I haven't asked it yet?
I said I haven't heard the question, but if you repeat it, I will gladly answer if I have the answer.
Okay, I think.
Mr. Mays.
Mr. Mays is here.
I think we are cooking with gas tonight.
Yeah. Mr. Mays, 28 or 38, 2015. Who is that car? Is that just a truck that's going to be part of the fleet?
I'm sorry, what number?
38, 2015.
Right, this is just going to be a truck that's going to be part of the fleet. I think that we're going to also utilize this truck as what's known as a bumper truck, whereas when we go out to clean, for example, the access ways off of the ramp at 280, this truck we actually going to put a special sign in the back to make sure that the workers are safe, and it's going to be a sign that indicates that men are working, various things like that. I think you heard me talk about it before. The technical name is a bumper truck, a truck that'll be used to let people know that men are working in the area. And what we want to do is we want to try to protect the workers. So I believe that's what this truck is.
So, Mr. Mays, would that also be used to do freeway drive?
Yeah, freeway drive is specifically what, this truck can be used to do anything, but I think that we are purchasing a sign, one of those illuminated signs that'll be put on the back of the truck to let let people know that men are working in the area. We have a problem with that right now when it's time to clean Freeway Drive, as well as the ramps into and onto 280. So I think that's what this truck is.
Also, Councilman Corbett asked at the last meeting that all of the trucks and cars have decals. Where are we with that?
Yeah, I am working on that. I don't know if you guys know, but tomorrow we have a meeting where we're going to review everything relative to the fleet of cars throughout the city, police, fire, and DPW. So I will be bringing that up. That is something that we are going to do.
Let me just say, one of my concerns is when we did the bond ordinance, and we did it under duress. And I thought somewhere we stipulated that those vehicles were gonna go to certain places, and I'm concerned now because it seems like everybody is driving a new vehicle except the people that's doing the work. So I don't know how that happened. I also talked to the mayor about the police department, that those vehicles are for the patrol division, not for the captains to sit in the parking lot all day and take it out. And I thought that was part of why we did the bond ordinance for the employees that's doing the work. But it seems like everybody got vehicles except them. So I don't know who did the assignment of the vehicles.
Well, the only thing I can tell you about that is I provided that list. If you want to go back and look at the list that I provided at the last meeting, and if you could pinpoint which vehicles you're talking about, then I can be more specific in giving you an answer.
Yeah. I can see the mayor having a car. And we've had that conversation. He said his car was in such bad shape.
His car was in bad
But
shape.
then I told him he should have took one of the older cars and let the new cars go to the workers that's on the road. But that's okay. But I don't think our business administrator should have a new car. I don't think our director of finance should have a new car. So I want to know why those cars didn't go to the people that's on the road every day. And our director of finance, if he has a new car, he should be getting it from Plainfield, where he's the mayor. Not from the city of Orange. So my question, does our director of finance have a new car?
He's going to have to come and answer that.
Mr. Matt?
Yes, I do have a new car.
My question is, why are you using one of our cars? You're the mayor of Plainfield. Why haven't they supplied you with a car?
I am not using a car that is owned by the city of Orange.
So you have a new car, it's your personal car.
I do have a new car.
Who issued it?
It was not issued by the city of Orange.
Okay, so you're not using one of the city of Orange vehicles?
No, I'm not.
Well, that was my question.
That wasn't.
That was easy.
Thank you, Mr. Matt.
I do have a new car. So you clarify that. And my other concern is our animal control officer. I know you said you put that in the budget, but that was supposed to be part of the bond ordinance. So I
Right.
don't know how he missed getting the car when he's in the streets picking up animals and he has an old car that breaks down all the time.
Right. I agree with you. I'm working on that. You may see that in the next meeting, hopefully, on the
That is
agenda
the
to
agenda
get.
that you
Yeah.
purchase a new car?
Yes, for him, the animal control officer.
Well, I just want to make sure that the cars have been utilized for what we bought them for. Because I think the taxpayers would feel a lot better if they know that the employees that's doing the work are using the cars versus, I'm going to say management, getting the new cars. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Council Vice President,
Yes, Councilman.
while we're on the subject of cars, I just want some clarification for myself. Director Mays, do you have anything to do with who gets a police car?
Not really, no. Not really, no. The police director decides who gets the cars for the police department.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Okay, I have a question for you, Director Mays, as well. It's regarding 40/2015.
Yes.
I guess my question is, what is the impetus for this? And were residents consulted?
The impetus for the for resolution 40/2015 is
I'm sorry. Is that the right one? No, it's the one with the cul-de-sac. I'm sorry, 39/2015. It's the cul-de-sac.
39/2015 is something that we're looking at. There's really been no public input. As we move forward into that decision, there would definitely be public input. Right now, we know that that street is being used as a cut through by a lot of individuals cutting through Seven Oaks area. And believe it or not, this is spurred on by a couple of the residents that live on that street. And this is something that has to be studied. This is just the first step. It doesn't mean that it's going to materialize or that it's a done deal. So we're going to try to move forward and look at this. There's going to have to be a traffic study done, and that traffic study, I'll come back and bring that to the council. And well, actually, I won't. I'll have the engineer come back and bring that to the council and, be able to explain it. And then at that time, you'll be free to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any
Council
other?
President, I'd have a question on the same resolution.
Yes, Councilman.
So if I'm understanding this wasn't brought to your attention by any of the South Ward or at-large council members?
No, not at all. This was spurred on by a couple of residents that actually live on the street.
All right.
Any other questions? I guess Mr. Mays or Mr. Mappa have one regarding 33/2015. We still haven't had an opportunity to, I guess, fully digest this whole issue regarding how we got to where we are with this settling of this OMEBA contract. And I think that we need to table this again so we could discuss it prior to we putting it on the agenda.
This is only for salaries. It's not the contract.
Okay, I stand corrected. Postpone. Okay.
Mr. Winslow will be here to address the agreement once he arrives. I'd like him to be allowed to speak to the body about it before you make a motion to table it at this time. He should be here fairly shortly.
Well, I don't think that should be something that we do at a regular meeting, Mr. Attorney Smith.
No, I'm not asking that your briefing of it. What I'm suggesting is that you go into executive session because it's my understanding that was going to be discussed. So I've asked him to be here tonight to discuss it with you.
This is all news to me that it was going to be discussed tonight, just so you know. I didn't know anything about it being discussed tonight.
Yeah, well, I've been contacted by Council President to ensure his presence here.
Okay.
So he will be here.
And we could always go into executive session.
And that's what I was suggesting.
All right, any other issues or questions? Okay, motion to adjourn from the conference meeting. Motion?
Motion. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, can we take a 2-minute break, please?
He's so serious.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. Okay. A regular meeting of the City Council, City of Orange Township held. Oh, you left out? Okay.
Hey, what's going on? I'm good, I'm good.
A regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Orange Township held in the City Council Chambers, City Hall, 29 North Day Street, Orange, New Jersey, on Tuesday, February 3rd, 2015, immediately following the conference meeting. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Roll call. Councilman Corbett.
Here.
Councilman Easton. Councilman Grant Butler.
Present.
Councilman Harold Johnson.
Here.
Councilman Summers Johnson.
Here.
Council Vice President. Councilman Kerry Coley, present. Also present, we have City Attorney Smith, Adrian Matt, Kevin Harris, Marty Mays, Margie O'Meara, and Tia Thomas. The Deputy Municipal Clerk announces that the requirements for NJSA Sunshine Law has been met. A notice of this meeting was sent out to the Star Ledger and published in the record transcript on July 17, 2014, posted on the bulletin board in City Hall, and filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk. Approval of the minutes. December 20th, 2014, conference meeting and regular meeting. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any reports? No reports at this time. Any open requests? There are none.
Council Vice President, you doing council reports?
I'm getting there right now.
Okay.
Council reports. Councilman Howard Johnson?
I have my report from the last meeting.
Thank you.
The sidebar report, just wanted to let everyone know that Blondie Watson retired from Freeholders, and she had her event tonight. We were represented and wished her well, so she says keep up the good work in Orange for all the council members. Orange Housing Authority report, January 15, 2014. I have to get the wife on that one. January 15, 2015. Council President, Council Vice President, I submitted a report tonight. I had the opportunity to attend a regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of City of Orange that was held on Thursday, January the 15th, 2015 at 6 o'clock. The meeting began on time and proceeded in an orderly, timely fashion. The commissioners adopted the agenda, meetings from 2 previous board meetings, minutes from 2 previous board meetings, and the treasury reports. All 3 resolutions on the bill list, the annual plan for fiscal year 2015, and the certifying audit review for fiscal year March 31st were all passed by majority vote. A few things that were highlighted by Executive Director Walter McNeil. His staff has been working diligently to forward all required state and federal reports required by the Orange Housing Authority, and the housing project on Oakwood Avenue is progressing on schedule. Contractors are finishing up exterior facing inside, inside the majority, sheetrock is done, and they're preparing internal painting of the rooms. The Housing Authority is keeping a close watch on the timeline on some of the properties it owns. There may be a clause in agreements that call for properties that to be reverted back to the city if certain development targets are not met. Council Vice President, I do not have all the details on that, but at some point I'll follow up with and closely monitor that. I'd like to submit this to the clerk's office for my council colleagues' review.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. Council Vice President has just arrived. I will relinquish the meeting over to her. The time is 19:35 hours. 7:35.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, where are we at? Say that, I'm sorry. And we just did the housing report?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that the first report?
Mm-hmm.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson, would you be so kind to be the second, library?
I'm sorry. I don't have a report. I have an announcement that on February 21st at 5:30, the Orange Public Library will be having a program for the history in blacks in film for African Heritage Month. And again, that will be February 21st, which is a Saturday at 5:30. And it's sponsored by Mayor Warren, the Orange Municipal Council, and the Public Library.
Thank you. Councilwoman Easton, any reports from ABC?
No report.
Okay. Councilman Corbett, Councilman Crowley,
Director Sims is here to provide a report. It could have happened during the matter for discussion, but I think we need to get it in.
so
He's here.
can I come to him last, since he's gonna?
It's up to you. It's up to you.
Do you think, because it's gonna be Q&A, let me just do, Councilman Coley, Councilwoman Butler, any reports for the fire department?
No report. I did have a brief meeting, not a brief meeting, but I did have a meeting with the fire director. He is here. I don't know if he wants to come up and make any comments, but.
Director Douglas? Do I need to let you come up prior to Director Sims? Let me, since directors are making reports. Personnel Committee, there was an email sent to you. I do know the urgency of your, the council from the Personnel Committee. I apologize. There was a request from the council. That email is sent to you today, and I laid out the guidelines. I'm sorry it was delayed. Nevertheless, it's in your box. The advertisement, Councilwoman. Okay. So if you have any, you just send an email and we can go from there. It should be out Monday. It's everything's in your email. And the Finance Committee, no reports at this time. Director Sims, if we allow Director Douglas to go first, I think you're going to talk a lot longer than him.
Good evening, Council President. Just want to thank all the council members that actually I did get a chance to meet and give you a breakdown of the fire department and my assessment so far. I'm looking forward to meeting with the rest of the council at your earliest convenience so you view my assessment and we can have a brief discussion. Things that we can change and assist within your respective districts.
Any questions for Director Douglas?
Well, I will just add my 2 cents.
Okay, go ahead.
He has been very responsive to the requests I make, and you know I can make a lot of requests. He has been very accommodating, and he seems to have some progressive ideas going on with regards to how the fire department is run, so we have high expectations and high hopes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. Everybody's privileged. He's had a lot of, he probably met with the majority of the council.
I have to piggyback on that.
Councilman Coley, so,
Yes,
yeah.
I was able to.
Councilman Gordon Butler. Okay, Director Sims, how long was that? Let me see if you're going to be short.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Hakeem Sims, Orange Police Director. As far as the report that we've been doing, the quarterly report, and now this is really the year-end report, we've discussed some of the crimes in the past, but I will say that in 2014, we did see a significant decrease in our violent crimes. That's been one of our main focuses, and we have addressed it, I think, substantially. And even though it's a great milestone that we all talked about, the number of homicides or the lack thereof, that is not a very good indicator of what's going on in the street. It's, there's a lot of people that are responsible for some of the lives that were not lost. What I will say is our robberies had a significant decrease by 29%, our assaults by 6%, homicides, as you know, was 100% decrease. And those are good numbers where we have consistently used a very low number as far as staffing. We haven't at this time hired any people, so the numbers that we've been using or that we've had over the years, the past 2.5 years, has accomplished this task, but I don't believe that is something that we can consistently do without having the numbers. But I am happy to say that they have accomplished this thus far. Where we did see an increase was in our thefts, mostly the larceny thefts. And that can be addressed and corrected through varying methods. One of which I believe is very important is the education of the general public. We have to constantly remind our residents and our visitors that you cannot do certain things in any city, but specifically ours. Say you're out shopping, you can't leave a lot of things inside your vehicle because it becomes a crime of opportunity. Where we try to patrol, say, Main Street as much as possible, it would help if we don't have people leave valuables in their vehicle, which can be seen from outside. We have a community service division that goes to residents' homes and discuss how to better secure their homes. So we ask that the residents utilize the things that we give them as far as tips, and ask that they call us in an effort to find out how they can better secure their homes and their persons. We also saw some increases in our summonses, where Orange Police Department is not out specifically to gain great favor by giving summonses. We're not looking to hurt any of our residents or visitors as well, but we did see an increase in our summonses, and that hopefully will bring numbers down of violators. Quite often you'll hear that we need to give more summonses, but at times you will see that things are corrected. If you give a summons because of a certain behavior, you may not see that behavior happen as often. So where you may say, or people may say, well, your summons numbers are down. Well, maybe we corrected the problem. But we did see an increase in summonses, so that tells me that our officers are noticing more, and maybe from that we will have a decrease in the offenses, or a decrease in the behavior that some people may have exhibited in motor vehicle infractions, with motor vehicle infractions. Any questions thus far?
Councilwoman Johnson.
Can you just tell me the correct way to reestablish a crime watch for a block if they've had one in the past and it hasn't been active?
Sure. Lieutenant Orlando Soto is now the commander of the Community Service Division. Captain Suey, as some of you may well know, has honorably retired, and he has now relinquished that control of the division to Lieutenant Soto. They contact the Community Service Division, Lieutenant Soto. He will greatly appreciate the call to and the request to show people how to get started again. And if you have some residents that want to begin their own, one that has not been in action, we'll welcome that with open arms.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Council President,
Councilman Corbett.
first of all, Director Sims, I certainly commend you and your department for all your efforts. I mean, I tell you, I really don't understand how you guys are able to have the success that you have with the limited numbers of manpower that you have, but it certainly is a tribute to you and all that you're doing to try to make this town a much safer town. You mentioned an increase in summons, and you also indicated at the end that most of that was through motor vehicle. Is that through parking or through moving violations?
Specifically, we had a 14% increase in moving violation summonses and 12% in parking. I would attribute that to the supervisors really pressing the officers to be a little more conscious and aware to all of the violations, moving and parking. As I previously mentioned, if we don't continuously and consistently address certain violations, people don't know to stop the infraction or stop violating the laws that we have. So this increase in twofold, in one sense rather, is an increase in awareness of our officers, and it tells us that we need to really pay more attention to what's occurring in our city.
Mm-hmm. So are there any plans to attack or writing more summonses in terms of folks urinating publicly, out publicly, and drinking publicly? Are there any plans to increase those efforts?
Yeah,
I see a lot of that, man.
Yeah, we attribute that to quality of life awareness. It's a quality of life crime, and yes, our city ordinances pretty much remain. Well, there was a drop in our city ordinances, but we can target certain offenses, especially prior to the spring and the summer when we see more people in the street. Mm-hmm. We can address those specific infractions, and I think that's something along with dealing with our thefts, which can be crimes of opportunity, and just watching people in the street that may be moving about without great aim. We can probably reduce some of those situations or crimes, offenses.
And finally, noise control. That has been an issue for quite a few years, and it's still an issue here in Orange. We have an ordinance, of course, that says that after 10 o'clock you have to turn your music down. But folks aren't listening to that or obeying that ordinance. In fact, I think people are more concerned about the noise prior to 10 o'clock, because the music in particular, even with these vehicles, I mean, the music is so loud that it's jarring windows, and you can hear it all in your home, and so forth and so on. So I think that there's a real need and a concern of our citizens to try to curtail some of that and stop people from, all that loud music playing that's going on in the city of Orange.
Now you're specifically speaking to vehicle music?
Not only vehicles, okay, but also people within their homes playing music loud.
That's something that can be handled at the supervisory level. Once the residents call, if we've gone there more than once, summons can be issued on that second return, unless it is that egregious on the first, mm-hmm, where they have no regard for the residents. We can certainly elect to issue a summons then. But I'll make sure I speak to the supervisors on that.
What about the music, the loud music coming from vehicles?
Yeah, that's always been on the books, and we've used it. We can address it again. We can really look at it.
All right. Thank you, Council President.
Are there any other questions for Director Sims?
Yes, Council President, if I may.
Director, Councilman Johnson, Mrs. Johnson.
Cool. Director Sims, on that same subject, does the police officer need some equipment to measure the decibel, the noise, in order to be able to write that ticket?
We would, and I might have to defer to City Attorney on part of this. In the ordinance, I think there would have to be something stating what an acceptable decibel level is before we go out and measure it. Would that sound accurate, City Attorney?
Attorney Smith?
Yes.
You got to talk into the mic, sir.
Yes, that would be correct. We would
Yeah.
that type of equipment.
Yeah, I mean, to get the equipment, then we would say, okay, 80 decibels at a certain time is too loud. And we go out and measure it. and if it's against the ordinance, then we would really be a slave to that ordinance. However, what we look at is if it's a disturbance to the neighbors. If it is affecting one or more neighbors to the point that they really feel bothered or offended, then we can give the summons then. So I think if we continue to use the judgment, we have a little more latitude. If we use a machine, and we may be held to one standard, and it may become a problem for us. But we'll look at it. I'll check around other towns, see if they have it.
Director Sims, the only reason why I brought this up, because that information I got from a police officer. So,
An Orange police officer?
I beg your pardon?
An Orange police officer?
Yes, an Orange police officer when we had an incident on my block, and that was stated to me that they were handcuffed because they didn't have the equipment to measure the noise level. So
I think he misspoke on that.
Okay.
I definitely feel that.
That's
that
why
is
I
a
asked
judgment. Yeah, he misspoke.
Okay.
That's a judgment call when the officer gets there.
Gotcha.
Council President, if I can, I want to stay right there where he is, where Councilman Johnson is. Suppose someone is playing music so loud that the neighbor's door is jarring and rattling. I had someone send me a video of that actually taking place. What do you do in a case like that?
Well, when I was a beat officer, I mean, I would go there and say, hey, listen, you got to turn that down. And if it becomes confrontational, well, I don't have to leave there without giving a summons. I think it's incumbent upon every resident to respect their neighbor. And if they cannot, it becomes a part of the police department's responsibility to help mediate that problem. And sometimes we mediate through consequence. But it's a judgment that we have to use. And our supervisors have to help the first line officer understand that, and understand that they are protected by the law if they so choose to issue a summons through judgment.
See, when that happened, and of course it was during the summer months, police were called. They didn't do anything.
Attorney Smith?
If I may chime in, obviously an officer has to determine whether probable cause exists to issue a ticket. He uses his experience, he uses his discretion to make that assessment whether during the time of day that this is occurring, whether it's a problem or not. Now, ultimately, going back to the question you raised, that may be a proof issue later, but as far as issuing a ticket and getting that person into court, the officer can exercise his discretion to say that the time of day, circumstances require that this particular nuisance be stopped. So a time of the day would factor into the officer's determination as to whether and how to handle that particular situation.
Are there any other questions for Director Sims? Thank you, Director.
If I might just add one other thing, you had Director Douglas up here, and he and I have had some really good conversations. I'm thus far very pleased to work with him. He has some great ideas, and we've come up with some great ideas for the city. I think it'll be in a very good interest for the city to give him some time, listen to some of his ideas. And I think for sure, not that we did not have a great relationship with the fire department, I know we'll have a great relationship with him as the lead.
And Director Sims, you don't have to respond. You can come your next report. You email me. Identity theft. I know Mr. Sikowski had brought that up last time, and then I've gotten calls about recent instances of identity theft. So I don't know if we can do some bulletins or put something out on being proactive. And I can't think. When you just thought of, like you said, the low-lying fruits, if you will, I can't think of the program I used to have on my computer, Lock. I can't, but if somebody told your computer, you can just call them, and then they would shut the computer down, and then they trace it and everything. I had that incident, and they, and this is pre you being director, but the officer from New York, where the computer was found, through that program, they're interested in coming in and talking to police officers, because as the unit stated in New York, it helps them find a whole lot of other leads them to other types of crimes.
Right,
So,
right.
sure that, I can't think of the name of the program, but it's a major program, but,
Okay.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Councilwoman Eastman, well, I'm sorry, was there anything with planning? Any
No.
updates, White Castle, anything? No?
No, nothing for planning.
Director Mays, the Public Works Committee,
No report at this time.
do you have anything for Public Works?
Yeah, the next meeting,
Well, just Public Works in general.
oh,
Do we have any updates that you might want to tell, for the next couple of days or anything regarding the streets, the ice?
I don't have anything in particular.
Okay.
I think we've been blessed to say, we haven't had any big, major storms, and hopefully we don't. But we were out there at the start of this storm, salting, and some of the new trucks that we did get in have been a significant help. Again, I stated we don't have them all yet, but we've been able to do some nice work with the new machines that we do have, and we're looking forward to finally getting them all. And again, if you have any complaints, anybody, I'm available. You can always contact me on my cell phone. I did get a lot of complaints, and we're still addressing problems, even as late as today. So let's see what the rest of the winter holds. And but I don't have anything in particular. I think it's been good. It hasn't been a lot of people driving around during the storms, which has helped us a lot. And hopefully the winter keeps going the way it's going. So we'll see.
Okay, Councilwoman Easton.
To you, to Mr. Mays. Mr. Mays, there's traffic signals. Are you aware we have a couple that's out? Three Corner Deli, the green light is out.
No, I wasn't aware of that one.
There's another one that's out. I'll have to text you tomorrow. But as you drive around, can you make sure you check the traffic signals?
Okay.
And there's another one that needs a green light. I can't remember.
Yeah, if
where.
you see that, just let me know,
Yeah.
because we do have that as a line item in the budget every year, and we will replace those signs depending upon whether if it was a knockdown or if it needs to be repaired. We will do that. So if anybody sees that, you just have to let me know.
Yeah, so do the traffic signaling. Thank you, Council President.
Are there any other questions for Director Mays?
Yes, I do, Council
Councilman
President.
Johnson?
Director Mays, do we have a working hotline for snow emergency now? Because I was getting calls that people couldn't get through the number, and I called it a couple times, and then we had to call directly. The number that appears on the city website flyer?
You mean for heat?
No, for the snow emergency.
Police Department, maybe?
I'm
The
not-
number was just going to a voicemail.
So there's a number on the website.
All right, I have to check into that. Cause
Yeah, I mean, I was able to get through for a couple of people, but the published phone number was driving folks crazy because they were calling it and couldn't get through to people.
All right, I have to look into that. I'm not familiar with that, so I will look into it.
Yeah.
Director Mays, I just want to, I've gotten several calls in between yourself and Mr. Winfield. I was able to get a lot of calls through and get a lot accomplished, especially today. So I want to thank your department and your leadership for the response and the calls and just responding to the people. And they were very appreciative. Even walking in the door, I received a call. And we'll talk more offline.
Okay.
Okay. And communications and petitions, there are none. Moving to our citizens' comments on general issues and agendas. Pursuant to Section 410 of the Code of the City of Orange Township, each person addressing the council shall step up to the microphone, shall give his or her name in an audible tone for the record, and unless further time is granted by the presiding officer, shall limit his or her address to 10 minutes. The public is expected to conduct themselves in a proper manner. Any derogatory, abusive, or threatening statements will not be permitted. The chair will immediately rule such conduct out of order and terminate any further comment. Before we go with the first citizen comment,
I get one. Go ahead.
Councilman Butler, did you mention about the fire department? I seen pictures of them doing the safety at one of the schools. Did you talk about that?
I did not.
Okay, were you aware?
I was.
Okay.
It was on Haywood Avenue.
Okay, so.
Career day, right?
Was that?
Haywood, right?
Okay.
Yeah, career day.
So it looked like it was very, well responded to. The pictures look great. So we wanted to thank Director Doug. I mean, something's been going on, but the pictures really look great. William R. Lewis. And before you start, Mr. Lewis, I just want to announce that Mayor Warren has arrived at 8:01 p.m. Yes, sir. Mr. Lewis.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Council President, members of the Orange City Council, my name is William Moore Lewis. I live at 688 Mosswood Avenue. And first I want to start off by thanking Mayor and the Council for this plaque recognizing my service in the Air Force during the Korean War conflict. And accept my gratitude, I would do it again, and I hope other people do. In fact, it enhanced my career. Some people read about Tripoli and Libya and places like that. I lived there, and it was an interesting aspect. In fact, service is very good for me. If you want to meet a bunch of people who are dedicated to getting the job done, no excuses, and overcoming all obstacles and get you back every time, sign up. Last November, celebrated my 82nd birthday. And I say that because some people say I look younger than I really am. They guess 60. And my wife used to say, why do you tell people your age? I said, well, they don't believe I could have done all these things to be whatever age I am. They thought I was, anyway. But I always told them, and I tell you, my wife's a young woman, she's 16 years old. She'll never get any older. But my acquaintances question comes up about my legal experience. My acquaintances, just off the top of my head, very quickly, include Judge Herbert Stern, F. Michael Giles, Thomas Vina, Harold Fullerlove, Arthur D'Italia, Harry Hazelwood. And among the attorneys, the two closest friends were Maurice Strickland, former Assistant Attorney General, partner in a big law firm in Newark, and Alfred Brown, who defended Dr. X. And if you want to see something interesting, look at that case. Marvin Breaker, I worked very closely with, among others. And so, if you ever want to get a feeling for what my expertise is, those are some people you might want to look at. When I was president of Newark JCs, my legal counsel was not Herb, Bornstein, and he was the chief assistant prosecutor for the County of Essex. in addition to which, as an electrical engineering student at NJIT, I was forced to study law. So we don't shoot from the hip. Generally, the project managers come from the electrical engineering ranks. And in my time in AT&T, I've said this before, I say it again, to establish credentials. We won 85% of the cases, discrimination cases that were brought against the company during my tenure there. That sounds pretty good. But anyway, someone says, why do you talk about what you did? It's because in my world, professional world, you have to give your credentials before you can speak. You can't just step up the mic and speak. And a lot of folks invite guests to speak, and they don't have any credentials or any background. They can give you a lot of blather. Now, moving on, Ordinance 2-2015. I spoke about this before briefly, so for second reading again tonight. You really need to yank that thing back. I mean, it went through a lot of iterations there, but, and I gave you the point. The key point is, does the president know how to run a meeting? Can the presiding officer control the meeting? And that, if you read the papers, I wrote an article on how to be an effective council president. And some of the substance of it was, you got to know more than everybody else in the room, not just there in the room. And if you try to fake it, you're going to be in trouble. And your meetings will be meaningful if you make them business oriented. And what is the purpose of the meeting? What is it we wish to get out of this? And should folks go home more knowledgeable than they were before? We changed this agenda several times. I'm not going to go through all the iterations because it's ridiculous. But in any event, we moved the public portion up to the top of the agenda because council wanted to hear what the public had to say before the council voted. And then problem grew with that, and we split it. It became a bifurcated agenda with the agenda items at the top of the agenda and public general items at the bottom of the agenda. And if you're familiar with, and you probably may not be, standard agenda under Robert's Rules, the last thing on the agenda is comments for the good of the organization. That's where the public comments come in. So, given the problems that you've had, this council, I don't know why you want to limit the amount of time that the public has to speak, and I think there was some misunderstanding with regards to what that's all about. But you cannot get too much help. As I said before, and I say it again, if you don't go to the courthouse and listen to some of those cases, you have not completed your education. You can't learn anything in here about what's going on in that courthouse and why are they ruling the way that they do. So you've got to know how to run a meeting. I told you, courses are offered on Robert's Rules by Rutgers, by the League of Municipalities, and others. But you also get a book from the clerk. And if you haven't read it, you should. And I don't know why you don't read it, because you have to be careful. When I was president of Newark JCs, the largest chapter in the state of New Jersey, I had a 25-member board, all experts in parliamentary procedure. You better know your oaths before you take that, pick up that gavel. But they probably wouldn't have elected you to be president if you weren't there. And whoever sits in that chair is the culmination of a number of years of education through the JC programs.
Mr. Lewis, you're at 1 minute.
Okay. Anyway, Resolution 37, the reduction of taxes. It's another item. This came up on previous agendas. Why isn't this going through an appeal? Why hasn't this gone through an appeal? That's where a person should be coming from. And you get an order, you got, I think 38 maybe, or 36 is one that shows you how it would have been done had somebody filed an appeal. But you better make sure that that is kosher. And otherwise, you're going to get into difficulty downstream someplace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Ashley Cartwright?
Good evening, everyone. Ashley Cartwright, address 421 Lincoln Avenue, here in the city of Orange. I'm just going to use this time to talk about ordinance 2-2015 also. My question may sound a bit facetious, but the timing of it will be as if
I'm not going to, I'll still give you
question
time. You have 5 minutes and 5 minutes, but we will have a public forum on 2-2015. Okay, I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you.
Okay.
The timing of it, it makes someone ask, was it your resolution? Was it your New Year's resolution to wake up and say, I want to silence the residents, the same residents who vote for you, the same residents who have to listen to you and read your lit as you drop it. I have to also agree with Councilwoman Butler. It needs to be televised. This meeting needs to be televised, hands down. I also agree with Councilwoman Summers Johnson. This platform is not for you to tell us your resume, send us your resume, email it to us. I think that this platform should be solely for how this is going to benefit the community and move forward with the community. I think that's where a lot of time comes in when people use this platform for other reasons other than what it should be for. But the timing of this is just horrible. I think you should can it and wait. You know, so much is going on, so much bigger problems is going on than this right here. But it's just my opinion. Have a good evening.
Thank you for your opinion. Mr. Dennis?
Good evening. My name is Dennis Monasebian. I own the building at 339 Main Street. I thank the council for the opportunity to speak tonight. First, just as a preface, I'd like to note, in the interest of full disclosure, that Mr. Smith is a tenant in the building that I own, and he occupies his space under an arm's length negotiation with me. I want to speak on two topics very briefly. The first is speaking for myself and for a number of other people, some of whom are here and many of whom are not, on the matter of changes, proposed rules that would change the amount of time that a person can speak before this council. The heart of our system is the right of the people to discuss matters of importance with their representatives. And this council room is the essential focus of that right. Without a grave and compelling public purpose in limiting discussion, such a rule would severely reduce the rights of all citizens and stakeholders of this town to their full rights. So I would ask you, when the time comes for a vote, to reject such a limitation on time to speak. The second item I want to discuss is, by the way, not a rhetorical question, but a legitimate question to this council and to each of its members. And I would ask the council and its members individually, if they know the full scope of their authority to investigate budgetary issues that are brought before them, and with respect to voting on such issues, if they know the extent of their responsibilities and their liabilities in such matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Mr. Feld?
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld, a local businessman and an attorney whose local business address is 268 Main Street, Orange, New Jersey. As my custom, I have posted various heads-up questions and comments on the city's www.nj.com public website. Before I get to the agenda items, I have a few just general comments based on what happened, partly on what happened in the last meeting. As you remember, at the last meeting, I mentioned how fate and history are converging. One of the issues and common theme we're going to hear tonight is about increased transparency, accountability, and adherence to the rule of law. When we do talk about transparency, these meetings need to be televised in real time. Because I can't tell you how many people are stopping me on the street, people I don't even know, saying, why isn't the city council meetings televised? And when I'm talking about people I don't even know, I think that's a general consensus in the community that we need to do it. We also have to be concerned about Oprah non-compliance. I gave you a letter trying to show you some of the highlights, some of the problems of it I am having with the Warren administration getting certain documents. Also on your monthly compliance reports, there have been changes to it. Names have been deleted, now initials are there. So you really can't trace, I can't trace which one is my request, and I don't know under what authority the names were being deleted from the Oprah request. Also, if you look at my letter, it's really the duty of the record custodian to disclose and make the determination whether certain documents should not be produced pursuant to some kind of Oprah exemption, and it should not be made by an individual who's in the administration seeking to block documents that are incriminating those people. Also, at the last meeting, I think Councilperson Johnson made a comment about the monthly operating report that you got dated as of December 31st, 2014. I made my Oprah request, I received it. I think this council needs to go through that report very quickly, because there are about 4 or 5 major items that show that no monies were expended in those categories. That being $200,000 for judgments, a substantial amount for the 5-year deference of severance, or one of those things for $500,000, a little excess of $500,000, and then the amount for the deferred taxes, which were several millions of dollars. As of December 31st, based on the report, that says that no monies were expended during the year for those accounts. We know that's I believe that's a false statement, because we know during the year we've been paying tax judgments, we've been paying attorneys. Why don't those accounts reflect what we really expended? Because without accurate financial records, how can we move forward? Turning to tonight's agenda. As the agenda it says petitions and communications, you heard there were none. We need to get a determination when I submit proposed resolutions rescinding some of the actions, is that deemed to be a petition or a communication? Because according to this, there has been none, and based on what I did submit to the clerks, and I gave copies that should have been in each of your boxes, I proposed 2 resolutions rescinding the actions that were taken at the last meeting. One of them ties into what former Councilperson Lewis was talking about. We're now in, I think, our 4th meeting where we're giving calendar year 2014 tax relief outside the tax appeal process. And what I'm asking is, what is the statutory authority that allows this council to do that? Not that you feel great and you want to be equitable, but do you have the power to do that? I believe, based on some appellate division cases, a recent tax court opinion that came out this year, about the volunteer rule under the state constitution, this council lacks the authority to give tax relief outside the tax appeal process. You need a legal opinion from the gentleman over there, that being the city attorney's office, not the tax collector and not the tax assessor. The bill list, tonight's bill list. We have to be very careful about professional fees, because at the last meeting we pulled the fees to I think the Prickett firm. If you look at this week's bill list, there's 2 more bills that come out from it. But when I did my Oprah request, it seems that it might be about $90,000 has been paid to that law firm in connection to the Willis Edwards litigation. And attached to the time summary was an interesting court order that one of the law firms that was representing the mayor, I think the McElroy firm, went to court and got a court order directing the city council to approve the payments of the bills. I think that the public needs to know how much money, how many different law firms were retained in that, have been retained, or still retained in that litigation, how much we've paid out by all the various parties, whether they're defending the city, defending the mayor, defending Mr. Edwards, or defending various council members. The public who's footing the bill needs to know the number there. Also, I gave a heads up that in the bill list there's a payment for a company for work they did for redevelopment services. I don't know who that firm is. I'd like maybe Mr. Mays to maybe tell us what that firm is doing, what kind of redevelopment, because I think it was about $16,000 or $18,000 that they're getting tonight, so that we know what they're doing. When I went to law school, I was taught in evidence by Faust Rossi, and he talks about a pattern. And he used like the Black Widow situation. Like this woman gets married, the first time her husband dies, everyone says it's a tragedy. The second time it happens, strangely, they go, is that a coincidence? But when it happens the third time, Faust Rossi said, that's when you get an indictment. She's a murderer. That's what we have tonight with S&W. How many times can we have bill lists that there's no S&W attached? Because one of the problems we always have is how much money is being paid for the departments. There's been no S&W attached to the last one. There's no one attached here. And we remember on a temporary appropriations, how do we know whether we're within the parameters of that, what we agreed to, if they're not telling us that? Because one of the duties, as the spokesman before me said, is you're fiduciary of the public trust. You need to be monitoring what is being expended. How do you know how much money we've been paying our employees? And that sort of leads us into the last resolution that I don't know the procedural status of it is regarding the retroactive payment to amoeba people. Because one of the things I pointed out in my letter to you about Oprah request, I've asked for where's the written authorization by someone in the Warren administration that authorized the payment and the release of those monies retroactively. No one can find a piece of paper. No one's standing up to the plate and saying, I was the one who authorized the payment. That's outrageous. And it comes back to there are certain principles that we need to know. That this body has to approve all contracts. You didn't approve the contract. Who made the decision to release that money? They're asking you after the fact, retroactively, to make those payments. Because that also ties into some of the various other professional services bills that you paid. Our outside redevelopment council is negotiating and drafting various contracts and various agreements that this council has never approved. And I can show you, if you go to the Tony Galenta and the McMahon Scotland things, you'll see there's a lot of different types of agreements that after you approve like a long-term ground lease, they renegotiate it after the fact and never came back to you. And what former Councilman Lewis is talking about, when you need to go to court, the judges are getting very concerned about what is going on here. The idea of a shell game resonates with them. But tonight, be careful. I will speak about the time restrictions at that time of the meeting, but we need to have more transparency. These meetings need to be televised. When we say transparency, it's in all our interest to know what we're paying our employees. We need to know this information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fowl. Caitlin Gordon.
Good evening, Kathleen Gordon, 211 Park Place. I will touch upon two issues, and I leave the response to the Ordinance 2 for the hearing. One of the issues is the snow emergency, reflecting on the snow emergency. I'm talking about my neighborhood that I experience and review. The cleaning, removal of the snow in the center of the street for thoroughfare is completely adequate. I come back every year to talk about the fine-tuning of the process. That on my particular street, there is most of the residents have no driveways. Therefore, every car is parked on the street, and it creates naturally a problem in cleaning. Really, while cleaning the street. Now, yesterday, no, not yesterday, the night before the last snowfall, I got an automatic telephone call that reminded us that the parking regulations will be enforced, which means that on my street there is alternate side parking. One side expected to be left empty, and the police will come and ticket. From my perspective and from my neighbors, most of my neighbors' perspective, this is a good trend. Those vehicles have to be moved, and a large part of the street has to be cleaned. Unfortunately, those cars were not ticketed, and therefore, on a large part of the street, when Thursday the parking side switches, it will still be unplowed. I would like to hear that the city enforces the parking regulation ticketing, and it might be painful for the public the first time, but it puts people on notice, and it will surely happen to much less of an extent the second time. Another issue with the same is the fact that one would expect, rightfully, that the city is sensitive enough to remove the snow from the side where the cars are parked and plow the snow over to the side where there is no one supposed to be parking. However, that is not happening on a regular returning basis, and the people who are parked legally on one side are pretty much snowed, shoveled, snowed in. This is an effort lacking from the city's part on something minor, but for the residents' part, it creates hours and hours of unnecessary work. So I mention again that please pay attention to this aspect. The second point, Mr. Feld already mentioned OPRA compliance. I have spoken repeatedly about OPRA compliance. We agreed, in the interest of time, that I will communicate with your council president and the council offline, which I did. I requested the response. We talked about it one-to-one, but I still have not received that for my response. I still expect that response. Thank you.
Thank you. Takesha Knight?
Good evening. My name is Takesha Knight. I am coming to you tonight as an OMEBA member and a member of finance. I want to speak about Resolution 33-2015, and my question is to the council: why is this being held up? And I can only speak for myself, but other members have expressed this. We have less than 100 members of OMEBA. More than half the members were present at the meeting. Only 2 people voted against the to accept the offer, and they're wondering. I get calls every day about when are we going to get our money. Another concern is a lot of members are happy that we got an increase without having to give anything back, because there were no give backs. Because less than 4 years ago, there was a layoff, and when we got an increase, well, actually, we didn't get an increase, and there was a layoff, so that was a concern for many of the members about the givebacks. Another concern is not only were there no givebacks, but Sandy and Hava also spoke to the members and said what was being offered and what was brought to the table and what was ultimately agreed on. And like I said, many of the members were happy and they voted on it. And now the question is, why is the holdup with the council ratifying the resolution? Another concern is the longer that it takes, members are expressing that they're losing money. And the reason why I say they're saying they're losing money is because the more money that's giving in with the back pay, the more taxes, and so the less money they see. So, like I said, I get calls all the time about it, and although there are no really, well, there's one other Amoeba member here, well, actually three other members here besides myself, but that is a concern, so I'm asking the council, what is the holdup?
Thank you. That's your answer?
And that's my question.
Thank you very much. We'll respond at the
Okay.
appropriate time. A motion to close citizens'
Move.
comments. Second. Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Citizens' comments are closed. A couple of matters, council members. The contract regarding Amoeba is still a live document. It has not been put before this council. We have tried to schedule, it's a contractual matter that should be discussed in executive session. We have tried to schedule several meetings, but the weather has kept us from meeting. Mr. Wenzel is here tonight. It is going to go another cold night, people get home in the park and things like that. So I want to know, just by poll, do we want to do the executive session tonight, or do we want to come back, or and just say tonight, and we'll do it after the meeting, and then we'll have a discussion in executive closed session tonight another time. This is the only thing I want to hear. Councilman Coley, would you like me to come back? Councilman Corbett?
Might as well do it tonight.
Councilwoman Eason?
Tonight.
Councilwoman Butler? Tonight. Councilman Johnson?
Tonight.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Tonight.
Councilman Coley? And we'll do it. So after the meeting concludes, we'll go into an executive session with Attorney Smith, the mayor, and Mr. Wenzel. Discuss the contract. Councilwoman Eason?
Are we gonna do it before the vote comes so that we can vote on it tonight?
We won't be voted. We'll have the executive session, and we can possibly come out of executive session and go back into a meeting if we need to vote on it tonight, or we'll make that determine what we're gonna do in executive session.
Okay, that was gonna be my suggestion, that we do executive session so we can vote on it tonight, because I think they've waited long enough.
We have to discuss that, Councilman. Okay. Going back, and Ms. Knight, and I know with the questions answered, I'll start from you, and that will be the extent of the answer we can give you at this time, Ms. Knight. Ms. Gordon, I know that you are working with the Public Works Committee, and I talked to Mrs. Sikowski today, and in terms of working with Mr. Mays and continuing the improvement of snow planning. So I think y'all will have a discussion that will be coming up soon, and you'll probably be able to present at the next council meeting about that. I'll let council members at the appropriate time if they want to respond about open non-compliance, but I think the council hears you, and it is an ongoing discussion among council. 2/2015, there will be a public session tonight, so we can respond at that point. Mr. Dennis asked a question about council knowing their investigative roles and their responsibility to the budget. And again, I will ask if council, you choose to answer that question, can you please answer it during your council comments? Ms. Cartwright has left, but she spoke about 2-2015. Ms. Lewis, again, congratulations on your award for your service to our country. And again, your remarks have been heard about the effectiveness of the meeting. I just, and Councilwoman Butler, I know you've probably continually talking to the mayor about the broadcasting of the meeting, and I know, Mayor, you've heard the responses tonight. So after council made their comment, if you want to make a comment about that, we'll do it when you are ready. There was one question Mr. Feld had about a bill for redevelopment. Mr. Mays, did you have an answer?
Yes, he asked about the Nishu Wayne Group. The Nishu Wayne Group is a small planning firm, and they're going to be focusing on the Central Orange redevelopment area and the possibility of making some changes to that area. As we all know, there are several projects in that area that are vital. One is the redevelopment of the Peppermint Lounge, which is a old Peppermint Lounge site, which is a 45-unit market rate building. And then the big one is the development of the old hospital site, which is actively happening at this time in terms of planning and seeing how the new owner is going to proceed going forward. And we hope that they definitely move forward with the development of that site in 2015. So that's going to be their primary focus on the Central Orange redevelopment plan in the Central Orange redevelopment area. And, you know, by hiring this firm, we hope to increase the transparency, and we hope to have more community meetings here at City Hall and more input from the public.
Thank you, Director Mays. Mr. Matt, there was a question, Ms. Knight answered it last meeting, you're absent, and the same question is coming up again with this bill is, why are there no salary and wages attached?
Because the finance department did not get around to entering salary and wages, we are focused on closing out the end of the year, and that is our priority. But we always enter salary and wages into the bill list. It doesn't mean that they will be entered immediately following the pay period that they pertain to. But you will be getting bill lists with the salary and wages.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Council comments? Councilwoman Summer Johnson.
Okay. I'm happy that it's Black History Month, African Heritage Month, but for me as a teacher, that's every day. Just teaching tolerance. Just on a sad note, on January 22nd, I received a call that I needed to go see Lisa Watts in the hospital as soon as possible. Lisa Watts was a lifeguard with the Orange Recreation and a paraprofessional with the Orange Board of Education for over 20 years. She actually lost her fight with stage 4 colon cancer last week. She was a lifeguard at Metcalf Pool for the majority of the time, and that was a very difficult thing to see. I've never seen anyone that close to transitioning in my life, but I was able to send my regards to her on her last days. I would take this time to thank the administration for pushing the proclamation through and making sure that it was read by her daughter at her memorial services on Saturday. And when the city pools open for the July season, I'm working with Adrian Wooten and Keith Pressey to have a celebration of her life at Metcalf Pool with the kids and things like that. But again, I'd like to thank the administration for making sure that the proclamation was done at the wee hours of the night. I had it, and I was able to give it to her daughter, and she was extremely appreciative. Thank you.
Council members? No further comments? Councilman Corbett?
Mr. Mays, there are a pair of sneakers that are hanging over the line on Bell Street. With regards to the snow removal, most of the comments that I received from the folks here in the City of Orange are pretty satisfied. And even for myself, you know, the county does a remarkable job with snow removal. they normally have 3 trucks right behind each other and really pushing the snow back and opening the roads. And I noticed on my block, I noticed a truck from the city of Orange coming through, snowplow, and it had another truck behind it, coming behind it. It had me confused. If I had not seen the logo for Orange, I would have thought it was the county. So you guys really did a much better job from what I have seen in the previous years. I haven't seen my road opened up as wide as it is, and that's a real good thing. So hopefully we can keep that up through the rest of this winter. As far as Ordinance 2/2015 is concerned, I expressed this in the last council meeting, and I'll express it again. I cannot, with a good conscience, support it. And I believe that the council is its own worst enemy when it comes to conducting council meetings. I don't think the blame should fall squarely on the shoulders of the citizens, where they are being penalized and not being able to express themselves, fully understanding that this is the only forum that they have to be able to come and express their concerns, being our eyes and ears in the community and letting the council and the administration know what's going on out there. And for us to take that away from them, I don't think that's right or fair, especially when the council is giving more than enough time to express itself. We should be following the same suit. If we're going to implement something like that against the citizens, then we ought to look at ourselves and do the same thing to ourselves and only allow ourselves to speak for 5 minutes when it comes to council comments. And as I said before, I just cannot and will not support this. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Eason.
Yeah, Council President, do we have a county liaison here today?
The county liaison, as you know, last day was January 31st, and his replacement we should be knowing who the replacement is soon. But
He's not here tonight, you sure?
Is the new county liaison here? No. And I talked to him on last day, and he wasn't sure at that time, but I'll try to, we'll work to find out who it is. Councilwoman Eason, are those your new trucks out there? Remember last year you kept talking about the trucks? Is that Councilman Corbett talking about?
Oh, we talked about that already. Prior to you getting here.
Okay.
To Martin Mees, I guess I don't want to say that the North Ward was discriminated against when the snow removal. But somehow or another, you got to give us the same attention you give the South Ward. That's not happening. I don't think my street was plowed until early part of this morning. I'm not sure. And you plowed in my driveway, but that's okay. I forgive you for that. But I'm saying that to say I got a complaint about Cleveland Street today because the school is there, the plowing wasn't done, the salting wasn't done, and they did have school today. So I'm hoping in the future that we can be on the same as the other wards and make sure that you give, especially in the areas of the schools when we know the kids are coming out, that you plow and make sure we get the same attention. We pay our taxes too, so I'm hoping that happens going forward. Other than that, that's all I have.
Council President?
Councilwoman Butler?
Just a couple of brief comments. First, I wanted to make note of, I sat through an absolutely excellent presentation from Rutgers University students with regards to planning. The planner, Don Mizell, had them come and they talked about efficient and safer streets, and their proposal, actually their research was excellent, and their proposal actually was very good too, so I hope it's something that we're going to take a close look at. Again, I will make my customary bi-weekly appeal to the mayor with regards to broadcasting the meetings. I still want to work very closely with him with regards to getting those meetings broadcast, because the larger public does need to see what goes on here, and they want to see what goes on here. With regards to Ordinance 2-2015, I made my comments at the last meeting, but I will say them again, and I'll be briefer than Councilman Corbett. Censor the public, censor the council. And last but not least, no, I'm sorry, I have 2 more announcements. I do also want to know why the salary and wages are no longer attached to the bill list. I know someone else mentioned it, but I do want to articulate that that's something that's extremely important for us to be prudent fiduciaries. We need that information. And last but not least, I'm going to say that Orange High School freshman boys are undefeated, 9-0.
Go OHS.
Go Seahawks.
Councilman Johnson?
Council President, yes. I'd like to piggyback on Councilman April's statement about the salary and wages, because I think we're getting into some kind of a pattern. You know, I've only been on the council for 6 months or so. It seems as though the very things that we think is important is a challenge to the administration. And kudos to the administration who can get hyped up, and they got a lot of positive things going. I mean, you got to give them their due on that. But the most important thing, which is the finances of the city, it seems to be one excuse after another why things don't happen in a timely fashion. Mr. Mapp could have pretty much said that the salary and wages would be available at the next meeting. Definitive. Not we're going to get it together. We going into 2015. I would like everybody to do a paradigm shift on how we address the finances of this town. Council, administration, everybody get on the same page that we're going to be excited about full disclosure of our finances. We can't take repetitive excuses from our finance department that they're not getting around to do something. So, Council President, I would hope that from this particular day, moving forward, we got a full year in front of us, that we do things a little bit different than what we've been doing the last couple of years.
Thank you, Councilman John. Councilman Coley?
And my last thing is the introduction of the budget. That time is fastly approaching, and I just hope that our finance director could have our budget introduced to the governing body as quickly, as soon as possible, to that date that was extended by the state.
Thank you, Councilman Coley. And Mr. Mapp, are we on target with the date?
Yes, we are.
Thank you, Mr. Mapp.
So that means the next meeting we should have the introduced budget.
It should be March. It's March.
Is it March and this February?
I think the date.
Is it February?
Mr. Matt, no, the date. Mr. Matt, what's the date? Because we went over the dates. Councilman Johnson, do you have them with you?
No, I don't have them available. But
March 12th.
March 12th is the
March
date.
12th?
It's the state is adjusted. Right.
I'm gonna fail myself.
Yeah,
March
we had at the meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm gonna fail myself.
The state has adjusted the requirements for the introduction. It possibly could be here before, but March 12th is the date. Brief comments. I got I seen a Facebook post at Director Mays, Mayor Warren, to our first responders in regards to a person trying to get out the snow today and how they felt sick, and that's something very common. The safety of shoveling snow and how it results in sometimes into heart attacks and things of that, and people don't know the intensity of their working. The purpose of one of the purposes of the board that's out front is to kind of alert and remind people. So if we can talk to our Vinny in the health department, actually get some information. The city is using Twitter, Facebook. We have the board. There's the calls, but it happened at a senior complex. So if we could just be mindful, oftentimes people don't. It happens, and people are not thinking about it because I think it's very gradual. And thank Ms. Gordon for talking about the parking being enforced. We've had kind of snows every week, it seemed, and with the last day of what would have been a street sweeping day, the Public Works and the police department used that day to remove snow from blocks, and from various blocks from that they would have normally been doing the street sweeping. And I know that will be happening tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a 40-degree, is supposed to be a 40-degree day. So please make every effort. They were at my door at 8 o'clock last Wednesday morning to move the car. And so thank you. I think if we continue that, as Ms. Gordon said, that people will get just used to it, and it will be moving their cars, and they will do it without the, having knock on the door. Thank you, Councilman Councilwoman Summers Johnson, for mentioning Lisa. We've had several people, and Lisa was a long standing person who served in the city of Orange to the citizens, and just to hear the remarks at her memorial service, and actually there were two big Orange funerals on that day. One was Mr. Wade Davis, and later on in the afternoon was Lisa, and it was just like a major Orange reunion from two different generations. So, and we just recently heard of the Patsy Coleman, who the Coleman family, who they also grew up, and those arrangements will also be at Woody. So it's just, and there's some I know I'm missing because there were several people that passed, and it just seems like it's been going on. But I would just send condolences to those families and ask that the city continue to keep those families in thoughts and prayers. And also, if we notice that Ms. Stewart, she has been absent from the meeting for several times. She's had sickness in her family. Her husband has been under the weather. So keep her in your thoughts. And she has continued she's been tending to him, but you know she would want to be here, but that's her reason for being absent. So if you can give her a call, I know, and let her know, she would really appreciate it. And the last remark would be for our police, fire, our whole city, our congressional member, Honorable Congressman Payne, he successfully passed the bill, and I hope the interoperables bill, where agencies can talk to one another, and it was major. And often, sometimes we think about how we do it seamless on this level because we can pick up the phone and it's kind of local. But as things get bigger, like a Hurricane Sandy, or sometime we don't realize sometimes the simplest things are the things that are overlooked. But that bill was passed late last night, early this morning. So I would hope that we would, it is about that time that Congressman Payne comes, and he can tell us the benefit and advantage of that bill and how it will help us, because we've had several emergencies in the last couple of months, and how that will help us improve our communications. And it was sort of a companion bill from one of his colleagues, and his bill was H.R. 615, and the companion bill was H.R. 623, and it was creating social media standards, and they were talking about how in using the phone, that the phone cannot cover the bases as the internet, and how they're setting forth legislation that Facebook, Twitter, and other websites that people generally use are going to have standards to communicate in emergencies, and those standards should be coming forth. So if we could kind of look at those bills and see how we can quickly take advantage of those services that will now be coming down, whether it be simple legislation or the finances to help us improve our communication system. We're moving forward on the agenda.
Council President?
Councilwoman Eason?
Just a note real quickly. Can we also add our own retired police officer, Crawford Daniels, to the list for prayer? He had a stroke this week, and we need to ask each and everyone to lift him in prayer. And he had just started his job back as a dispatcher at the police department, so.
Is he home, Councilwoman?
We've been trying to reach him today. He was supposed to get released yesterday, but I don't think they would have done it in the storm. And Mr. Mays, real quickly, when is the park on Alden and High going to be ready to come online? Will it be ready by the summer?
It'll be open by the spring, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for the update, Councilwoman Mason, regarding Crawford Daniels. Moving on to ordinances, second reading. First will be 1-2015. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 4, Article 26 of the Municipal Code of the City of Orange Township, regarding the administration of government. Is there anybody that would like to be heard from the public on 1-2015?
Good evening, Jeffrey Feld, local businessman and attorney whose business address is 268 Main Street, Orange, New Jersey. I'd just like to clarify the record as to 12015, that this will be applying for all calendar years, that it will be the responsibility of whatever administration is to disclose the salaries of those various employees, but also is it the intent of the council to limit the salary disclosures of certain employees? If you're not in the top 5, are you free from disclosure? Because if you are, I think you might be falling into a problem with Oprah.
Is there anybody else in the public that would like to be heard?
Motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Butler.
Council President,
What motion, Councilman Johnson?
before we vote on,
We're just closing.
okay, 'cause I need to discuss this with you.
We're discussing now.
Okay, right now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. It was brought to my attention some other areas that need, by talking to some stakeholders, that some other areas need to be reworded. I discussed it with our legislative research officer, Attorney Harris, and he says that significant change that we should have to make an amendment to it, and we should bring it back at the next meeting.
So should we be doing a motion to withdraw, or should we be postponing it to the next meeting? What are you going to request? Do you want to leave the public hearing open? No, because we're going to have to.
No,
It's the changes that you're going to make are tremendous changes, so it's going to change a lot of what you have before us tonight?
No, it's not. But it has something significant to do with the city shall make the following items for the current year and the 2 previous years, CY 2014 and 2013, which is a change of wording, but it's significant enough that it has to be amended properly.
So you're on the 3rd page, item C.
Yeah, that's under Article 16, Budget and Fiscal Procedure, item number C.
C. Okay.
Yes, the
So
verbiage of that.
We'll read the city shall make, what will it read? I'm sorry.
The city shall make the following items for the current year and the 2 previous years, CY 2014 and 2013.
So we want to change, the city shall make the following items for the current year and current year and 2 previous.
The 2 previous
and
years.
2 previous calendar years.
Which was calendar year 2014 and 2013.
Well, we don't you just want to say 2 previous calendar years.
Don't name
Gotcha.
Yeah, 2 previous calendar years. Were there any other changes?
No, that was brought to my attention earlier. The statement by Mr. Feld was something I'm hearing for the first time. I didn't factor that in, but it can be reviewed with the legislative research officer.
You can always come back and amend it. Okay, so we will be voting on changing with the amendment in C. The city shall make the following items for the current year and for the current calendar year and 2 previous calendar years.
Correct.
Not listing any years. Just,
correct.
Okay. All right. Councilman Neeson?
Attorneys are discussing it now, so they need to.
Did you hear, Attorney Smith, the change will be in item C, and the suggested change was the city shall make the following items for the current calendar year and 2 previous calendar years. Okay? That's fine. You want to talk on are you calling on 120-2015? Okay, so just let us finish 120-15. Are there any others that will have any discussion on one? If not, we're doing a motion to close. Roll call, Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers?
Yes.
Councilman
You
Johnson?
did it again.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Butler?
Yes.
And I am in favor as well of closing. Now we're going to do a motion for final reading.
Move.
Moved by
Second.
Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Council. Let me read it again. The amendment is in item C. The city shall make the following items for the current calendar year and 2 previous calendar years on its website. I'm sorry, Councilman Coley again?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Neeson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Butler?
In favor.
And I am in favor as well. 125-15 passed, 7 yeas, no nays. Moving to 2-2015. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 4 of the Municipal Code of the City of Orange Township entitled Administration of Government, dealing with procedural rules of the City Council. Is there anybody from the public that would like to be heard on this one? Did you want to come first? He was allowing you.
I want to speak.
You come to the, just come to the mic.
Hi, my name is Antoinette Campbell. I'm at 145 North Essex Avenue. I want to speak. It's not on the ordinance. It's about the snow removal.
Okay, I'll do, after we get through the ordinance, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to come back and let you speak. Sorry, and what I would, Director Mays, could you go out and see if you can, okay. And Miss, can you just set out with Director Mays and see if you could, if we would need to do that? I'm sorry, Mr. Fowler.
No problem. Again, my name is Jeffrey Feld, local businessman and attorney whose local business address is 268 Main Street, Orange, New Jersey. With regard to proposed ordinance 2015, I think this needs to be pulled and reconsidered because we're really talking about 3 buckets of comments. One is the comments I'm giving right now, the comments on a second reading public hearing, which is provided under Title 40. We're not talking about the Open Public Meetings Act. Then we have another bucket, which are regular agenda items. And the third bucket is non-agenda items. And one of the things I've been asking for pursuant to Oprah is the backup to the finding that you're basing this ordinance on. Because when I do a comparison of the local municipalities that are around us, like West Orange, East Orange, South Orange, Montclair, even when you look at the city of Plainfield's agendas, you see they break it out. And I think one of the things we can do, if we break out like they do, like the non-agenda items at the end of the meeting, then I think we'll get rid of a lot of the things, and you may limit that to 3 minutes. The problem that we are having, if you're going to say, like, on certain ordinances, if I use up all my time talking about, let's say, 5 other items that are on the agenda, and you have an ordinance, because certain ordinances, citizens do not have the right to challenge by referendum. You can say you used up that time. And I thank Councilman Corbett, because you hit it. You hit the home run on the nail. You hit the analysis that our Chief Justice Ravner just did in a case called Dublier and about freedom of speech. That when you look at the reasonable restrictions that are put on people to speak on public political issues, because that's what this is, a political issue, they have to be reasonable. And one of the things you look at is the opportunity that other people have to speak. How do they get their information out into the marketplace of ideas? Well, we know that the meeting is not being televised, so a lot of people aren't here. We know a lot of people are not here tonight because of the weather. I mean, a lot of people, I think, who would like to speak pro or against this ordinance did not come out because they're afraid of falling on the ice. I mean, I heard that. You're shaking your head no, but people have said this to us. Well, well, I'm just saying, I mean, I've heard, and I see this, it distracted me, all right?
Okay, stay focused.
Councilwoman, please.
There are a lot of people who aren't here. But you have 3 different buckets. And when you're talking about political speech, and you're talking about our state Supreme Court, why are you now trying to restrict it? And then we're going to hear the compelling reason that we're giving that we need to restrict all speech that you give, whether it's on the 3 buckets, to 5 minutes. It's because the meetings are too long. Well, tonight's meeting didn't start till 7:13, but the record says it started at 7 o'clock. We should be there. If you also look at the ordinance, it says about when comments can be back to people's citizen comments. It says any councilman can make a comment during their citizen comments, during their council comments. It doesn't allow the city council president to respond. Where does she have the authority in your own ordinance? So when you're asking about what are we doing, follow what the rules are. But I think one way we could cut some of these things are break out the non-agenda comments to the end of the meeting, because that's what your brethren neighboring municipalities do. Look at the Governmental Records Council, how they do their meetings. If you're going to speak on the agenda items, it's up at the beginning of the meeting. If you want to speak on non-agenda problems that they have in Oprah and comments, comes at the end of the meeting, you get 5 minutes. Also look at what Montclair does. They understand that a lot of people are scared to come up to speak to the microphone. And they said if someone's going to be representing a group, they're given an additional period of time to represent that group. Consider that as an option, to give then someone else have more time. But please be careful, because there's a history here, a very bad history about efforts to censor speech. We had to go, don't forget what happened in 2007 when someone was thrown out of the city council meeting for speaking. Do not forget the municipal criminal complaint that was filed against me. Do not forget that I am a defendant in a defamation action for statements that I made at this microphone during a public meeting. And this council and this city has not stood up and said whether that is protected speech. But please be careful about the 3 buckets and do not restrict it, because I see just more litigation down the road if we do.
Council President, members of the council, I just want to remind you of one thing that I said at the last meeting. That is, the state adopted the agenda that was developed by the Orange City Council. And I don't think you can just throw that out the window. It looks frivolous and without reason.
Thank you, Mr. Fell. Is there anybody, Ms. Gordon?
Kathleen Gordon. I want to thank the 2 council members who already expressed that this ordinance is not in the interest of the residents, and in fact not really in the interest of the council in a deeper sense either. I have written up my opinion that is not as concise that those 2 are, but give a little nibble here and nibble there how we residents think. So I'm going to go ahead with it. So this changes is being proposed to cut down the time of the council meetings. And the goal, I think, is reasonable, but the way the council goes about it seems wrong. It sounds, at least for some of you, that you feel that if all those nosy residents would just go away and let you decide on the big issues, everything would be running so much more smoothly. But you are elected officials, elected to represent us. We residents are supposed to have rights to communicate with you, to notify you of our needs, to have an impact on how you execute your job as our representatives. Would it be that you have developed other new avenues for two-way communication? There is no question that public time could be shortened. There are many ways to go about it. One councilwoman is already having regular meetings with her electorate that would be appreciated and appropriate all around. Then there is the possibility of council members opening up a web page to questions and requests with answers provided publicly. it cannot, of course, be only a show of or pretense. I have tried in the past years myself to provide my views and influence different council members on different issues outside of the council chambers, so in order to save time, but without much effect. Some council members I found avoid to engage altogether. Some others politely provide the time but never bring the issue discussed to the council, which of course makes the whole exercise futile. It is, as Mr. Feld mentioned, it is especially hurtful that the right to ordinance hearings is being eliminated. Ordinances are a class of decisions which with strong impact on the residents, fiscally or otherwise. There is no question that this right should stay, in all fairness, unchanged to the residents. Another issue is about public comments, that the public expects to receive honest and to-the-point responses from you. Please feel free to review the comments and responses I personally have received in the last few months. You will see that I have come back to repeat my questions or requests at the next council meetings at least half of the time. I submitted a letter not so long ago. We discussed that today, or mentioned that already today. I submitted a letter not so long ago to all of you through the clerk's office and received no answer. Not only that, but when I asked about it, none of you would recall the receipt. The clerk's office provided a report of no communication. Now, if you would demonstrate more concentration and interest in our request, a lot of time would be saved right there. Therefore, I believe the fair way to solve this problem is for the council to take the primary steps and eliminate the need itself for the residents to spend their evenings at council meetings hoping to get the word in. When you have effectively done that, you will see that interest in providing public comments will drop automatically. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. And Ms. Gordon, do you have a copy of that you can, we need for the clerk's office? If you've made notes on that, could you just send a copy to the clerk's office tomorrow? Or would you just, that whole statement? Please, can you?
Yes.
Okay.
Some is current and handwritten, but I can.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to be heard from the public on 2-2015?
Motion to close.
Second. Motion by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, before we vote, do you have any responses?
I do.
Councilwoman Summer Johnson.
And I didn't want to come off rude, but what I was trying to say was, we make excuses on why residents don't come. But if this is the only time that they have to speak and it's on record, then they have to come. And I'm really not for spokespeople coming, because that is a problem we have now where people are speaking for all of the residents, or they're saying all of the residents.
Sorry, Councilwoman. Mayor Warren, and Attorney Smith and Legislative Reese, could y'all just go in the back so we could just, because it's being recorded and I don't want it to be, can you please, thank you. And I'll let you come back out. I'll carry mine, thank you.
I was just saying, I don't want to, it's, for me, I don't want to ever censor residents, and like Ms. Gordon said, that's why I have the meetings in my ward. I feel like I can get stuff done there, and it would be less, for me, South Ward residents coming up here with complaints. I would have hoped to have dealt with whatever their problem was prior to them having to come up. Again, like I said before, that's not just the problem while we're here for a long period of time, that there's other things that need to be tweaked, starting on time, those different type things would help. But that was just, I just wanted to say that.
Okay. Councilman Coleman, would you?
No comments.
I'm going to pause, and before we take this vote, I'm going to ask if we take a 3-minute, a 5-minute recess. Let me be realistic, because there's a legal issue that they're discussing. So I need a motion to recess.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Councilwoman
Second.
Easton, second by
Like you
Councilman
said,
Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have a 5-minute recess and overtime. 2 more minutes.
Ain't no 2 more minutes.
Director Douglas. I'm just waiting for, a motion by Councilwoman Easton to reconvene.
Second.
A second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now back in session at 9:26. Councilwoman, before you make your motion, Councilwoman, your motion, I'll wait. Councilwoman, your motion?
Council members and Council President, I make a motion to table for reconsideration. There's some.
Motion to
not for-
table, motion to table.
Motion to table.
Is there a
Something has to be
sec-
clarified.
Second.
Is there a second? Second by Councilman Corbett. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Galt Butler?
No.
I am in favor of tabling it. Members of the public, if we will inform, we will do great information, letting you know if this will be on the second or first meeting in March and how we will proceed. But as now, it's tabled. Thank you. Moving on, there are no ordinances on first reading. The consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. We know we are removing 33.
Council President?
Councilwoman Galt Butler?
Yes, can you remove 38, 2015 and 42, 2015?
42.
42.
Council members?
Council President,
Councilman Johnson?
remove 37, 2015 and 39, 2015.
Any other councilman? So far, we've removed 33, 37, 38, 39, and 42. Councilwoman?
Now, 33 we're removing until after the closed session.
Yeah. There are no others. Before I proceed with the consent agenda, I apologize. Director Mays, do we need to suspend the rules for the resident or you or?
No, I took care of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. We're doing the consent agenda. We're voting on 36, 2015, 40-2015, 41-2015, and 43-2015.
Motion.
Okay. Motion by Councilwoman Easton.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Galt Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda passes. We're going, just a second, we're going back to 33, will be voted on last. 37, I'm gonna hold off on 37, going to 38-2015. A resolution authorizing the purchase of one 2015 Ford F-250 four-wheel drive regular cab 137 WB under state contract number 885, A as in Apple, 85971 for the City of Orange Township Public Works Department Traffic Division to buyer fraud, 170 Ridgedale Avenue, Morristown, New Jersey, 07960, in the amount not to exceed $30,978.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Easton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson on the motion. Seeing no roll call, Councilman Coley.
In favor.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Easton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Galt Butler.
No.
Councilman Williams, I am in favor. Going back to 37-2015, the administration will be removing this. 37-2015 will be withdrawn by the administration. Moving to 39-2015, a resolution authorizing the award of a non-fair and open contract with Carroll Engineering, 105 Radier Boulevard, Suite 206, Hillsborough, New Jersey, 08844, to provide traffic engineering services associated with the potential installation of a cul-de-sac at the southeasterly end of Claremont Terrace at the intersection of Claremont Terrace and South Center Street in the amount not to exceed $7,950.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
In favor.
Councilman Corbett, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Easton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
No.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
No.
I am in favor. And what was that count? 5 yeas and 2 nays. The motion 39-2015 does carry. Going to 42-2015, this is a resolution to pull the bill list. Were there any discussion that we needed to talk about on the bill list, or you just wanted for a separate vote? Separate vote. A resolution approving the bill list, February 3rd.
Hold on, I do have an item on here.
Let's go ahead and get on the motion. February 3rd, 2015. Is there a motion?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Butler. On the motion, Councilman Coley.
Yes, page 1, or this is MBD Strategies.
Right.
Can we just pull that and so we can look at that a little bit?
We have further discussion.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the
The
comment.
first one, MBD, is a request to pull it till there'll be further discussion about, with the administration about the duties. And the first one, Councilwoman, for MBD strategies, it's communications, public communication services. You see it?
I'm getting there.
Okay. For $3,000. Council members, I am sorry. We're going to have to vote on this after the executive session, because there were legal items on this. There were also legal items on there that will have to be discussed as part of the executive session as well. And everybody should have, if not, I have a copy of all the different things. So
I need to rescind your votes.
Rescind the motion.
On the motion.
I rescind the motion.
We can actually just pause here on the motion, can we, and just go into executive session, because there's no other.
That's a motion before that, withdraw the motion.
I think you got to rescind it though.
Wait,
because
no, wait, one second.
You
No,
gotta
we're on the
withdraw
motion.
You gotta withdraw the motion. You gotta vote, once you move, you gotta either vote or withdraw it. You gotta withdraw the motion. You can't adjourn on a motion.
But you have to rescind it. You rescind it, right?
So when you come out, that's the first thing you're gonna do is vote on that?
So a motion to enter into executive session?
No, you can't move, you got another motion already. He can't move. I know, but he can't move while the motion's pending.
Will you, who was that?
Like you
Council-
said.
Motion to rescind, Councilman Coley.
Corbett.
Who did the motion? Was it?
I offered the
Who
motion.
seconded?
I did.
Okay.
Rescind.
Councilman Coley? I mean Corbett?
Yes.
A motion to rescind?
Yes.
Councilwoman Butler?
Rescind.
We're rescinding. Now we're going to have a motion for an executive session.
Motion.
Motion for an executive session by Councilwoman Easton.
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. On the motion, the purpose of the executive session, council, please, audience, if you can go into the other room, if you have to have a conversation, we're still in an open meeting. The purpose of the executive session will be to discuss various legal matters that are before this council. Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason,
Yes.
Councilman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gordon Butler,
In favor.
and I am in favor as well. There's a motion to go into executive session for legal matters. And I would need, yes, sir.
I just have a question here concerns a point of information concerning the pending return
We will be
to
coming back.
2015 in March. Will the public hearing be of citizens reopened?
What I stated on the record is that the clerk's office will notify the public in a very efficient way, so we'll let you know. We cannot answer that question tonight. We will be going back into open session. Can I ask the members of the public to leave? Matt, you gotta go leave, but don't leave. You can still hold there. And so who will be staying from the public is as our contracted attorney, Mr. Wenzel, and counsel and the city attorney, legislative research officer, and the mayor.
Good evening.
Oh,
Good
Mr.
night.
Douglas?
Good night. Good night. Good night.
I have the bill list before us. 42. That's 2015. Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Court, second by Councilwoman Easton on the motion. I'm sorry. As a reminder, the bill list has been amended to remove $3,000. Council discussion. So the bill list is voted on as amended, less than $3,000. Councilman Coley,
In favor?
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Easton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
No.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
We're on the bill list?
Bill list.
No.
Councilman Williams is in favor. I'm sorry? 5 yeas and 2 nays. And we're going back to 33-2015. This is a resolution ratifying, and we have to amend it, the memorandum of agreement. Is it in there? Ratifying the MOA, labor negotiations between the City of Orange Township and the Orange Municipal Employees Benevolent Association, Essex County, number 1, Local 32, OPEIU, OMEBA, regarding salary adjustments and training sites and conditions.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett. Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Easton on the motion. I will say on the motion that I am a member of OPEIU, so I will be abstaining from this vote. Councilman Coley, the vote, Councilman Coley.
I'm gonna tell you.
Oh, you on the motion?
I know, but I'm gonna speak. I
Okay,
know
no,
I'm out of
I
order.
was calling the vote back to on the motion. We have to
Yeah,
see it.
on the motion,
Mhm.
please.
And I ask you to please just be careful with your comments, because if it's items, you can't bring the executive session into this meeting. That's all.
No, it's just that.
Okay.
We shouldn't be here tonight talking about this. We should not be here talking about this tonight. It was just not right how this whole thing was done, how we got here. Just wasn't right. And I just hate being in a position like I'm against something when I'm not. For those who don't know me, I'm completely union. Everything about me is union. But this right here just wasn't done in the proper manner in which it should have been done.
And when you talk proper manner, you're speaking to procedural manner.
Second?
And when you speak manner, you're speaking procedural manner.
Yes.
So the record will
It
reflect
just
that.
it just doesn't sit. It just that does not sit well with me how it was done. And the council, this governing body, is having to, right the wrongs of how this whole process was done. It does not sit well with me at all. But these employees of the town who do deserve their pay increments and their pay to be straightened, I don't want to hold them hostage, for the improper actions of the administration.
Thank you, Councilman Foley. Council members, any other on, while we're on the motion? Seeing none, we're going to the vote. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
No.
Councilwoman Butler?
Yes.
Councilman Williams abstains. And the vote is five yeas, 1 abstention, and 1 nay. So, thank you. Is there, and the record will reflect that the clerk's office, Mayor, will get you to put out through your phone blast of when that public hearing will be regarding 2-2015. And Mr. Windsor, you'll just update the council accordingly. Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to close.
Oh, wait.
Second.
Wait.
Good night.
Sleep tight.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Council, I'm sorry. Corbett, second by Councilman Eason. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You put this right there.